Let me just start my recording. Okay, so in like the session 1 of part 1, we have accomplished like the basic introduction of linear regression machine learning model, and the second part is going to be like the implementation of a complete project with related to different sort of algorithms, right? So what we will try to do, we have already like imported this module which is like the logistic regression, and inside this logistic regression we built a model like for image classification, and this image classification is like we call the data from like low digits data. We have converted this data into a training and testing part, and training and testing part is like this. We once we like convert our features and target into multiple like training and testing, we will get the final four outputs, and we will use the final four outputs like the x train and y train for like training purpose. We can change the parameters if it is required, and then we will, once we have created the machine learning model, then we have to use this data for testing. It is like we have a mathematical book, like we have a mathematics books, and I will divide the complete chapter into like a2 into 20 part, right? So I will like particularly give the 80% question to the students so that they can read all the question and prepare themselves, and I will ask the rest 20% question not from that 80%. The 20% question like wo jo hoga wo mera alag rahega from the rest of the data set, right? So this is the main purpose of this training and testing part, right? So we converted our data into 10 test pass. Then we call this logistic regression function. We know that this logistic regression is a like extended version of a linear regression, where we need to convert the single line into a sigmoid function, which is called a S curve, right? And the mathematical sigmoid function is like 1 upon 1 plus e raised to the power minus z. I will give you ki how to create or how to convert a single line into a sigmoid kind of function. वो अभी हम perform करेंगे, right? But we have used it like logistic regression, then we trained our model, then we took like what exactly the intercept value and the coefficient values are like, and now the final task we need to predict the value, and then we can check the overall score, right? So let me just give you the steps involved in like machine learning model preparation, right? So first we load a data. The step one is like we load a data, we load data, we do some like data cleaning. Okay, data cleaning generally referred as a like exploratory data analysis. Then after data cleaning we will try to like import the like relatable modules related to machine learning models. So import ml models, right? And then we will divide the data set into training and testing part, right, with the help of train test split, right? So training and testing part, and then after this we will try to build a model with the help of model is equals to like any model, whatever the models that we have like logistic regression, linear regression, decision trees, random forest, ये ऊपर जितना भी हमें मॉडल दिख रहा है ना, whatever model like we have, so I can use any of the model based on my like objective or based on my problems, right? So these are the steps involved. Then after model creation we will try to use some hyperparameter tuning if it is required, like hyperparameter tuning. And when we like work in a practical environment, we generally need to do this. Once we create a hyperparameter tuning, then we will try to establish or create a multiple models, right? Model testing and comparison. And how to compare a model, we know that we need to use the matrices like उन सबका error check करेंगे, MSE MAE check करेंगे, right? RMSE check करेंगे, R2 score check करेंगे. But all these related to like आपका linear regression kind of problem. If we have a like classification kind of problem, so classification may we generally do not need this matrices, where we need to work on like the comparison matrix, or like we generally refer this as a confusion matrix, right? So confusion matrix we generally use जब हमारे पास classification problem होता है to identify the overall score, and we need to check the score as well, right? So confusion matrix and score we generally refer when we want to use, when we are dealing with the classification problem, and MAC, MAE, RMSE and R2 score we use when we are like solving problem related to linear regression. I think it's clear, right? So let me know any doubt related to this. Dr. Vikrant sir, Dr. Shobha ma'am, like all these are like types of matrices we need to prefer while we are particularly checking our model. अगर लीनियर अगर रिग्रेशन का प्रॉब्लम है, लाइक न्यूमेरिकल वैल्यू प्रिडिक्ट करना है, सो वी कैन चेक आवर मॉडल बेस्ड ऑन ऑल दीज क्राइटेरियाज. अगर हमारे पास क्लासिफिकेशन का प्रॉब्लम है, सो वी नीड टू यूज दिस लाइक द मॉडल डॉट स्कोर और लाइक द कंफ्यूजन मैट्रिक्स, एंड द अदर थिंग इज like the classification report, right? So all these are like related to my classification kind of problem, right? Once we like loaded all the matrices and check, okay, इस model का इतना matrix आ रहा है मेरा, इतना score आ रहा है मेरा, then we will finalize the model. Okay, and once we final the model, then we save the same model. Okay, save the same model, and then we have to create a website for this. And after creating a website, we need to deploy the same model. Deployment of that model. Okay, I don't think so कि इससे related कुछ doubt होगा. These are the steps involved in machine learning model preparation and building. Okay, just let me know इसमें से किसी भी steps में कोई doubt है आप लोगों को तो बताइए. Anyone? So now we will create a project where we, because we know that ना कि हमें logistic यानी classification problem कैसे करना है, linear problem कैसे करना है. Now अब हमारे जितने भी algorithms हैं, we will try to use the same algorithm with the help of single project, and the project is like related to, I have a flower data set which is like iris flower iris classification. Okay, and in this iris classification we need to build a classification model, right? So let me just show you iris flower classification. I'll pick this images. Okay, now I'll create a machine learning model that can pick the data related to iris ka sepal length, iris ka petal length, iris ka sepal width and the petal width, and it will try to give me the class it belongs to. In short कि we will ask the 4 different data set कि भाई मुझे 4 data बता दो, and in return I will give you the types or the classified groups that this flower belongs to. iris का ही रहेगा, iris का सिटोसा से belong कर रहा है, iris का वर्सी कलर से belong कर रहा है, iris का वर्जीनिका से, या कोई और फ्लावर है मेरे पास, राइट? सो आई डोंट थिंक कि कोई डाउट होगा लाइक व्हाट एग्जैक्टली आवर प्रोजेक्ट इज. एनीवन बताइए. And we know that now we will try to include all these steps. Yes or no? Right? So shall I just start? Anyone just confirm? Or any doubt related to this? Dr. Indu ma'am, Dr. Shobha ma'am, Dr. Chand sir, Vivekanand sir.
नहीं, आप स्टार्ट करिए. नेक्स्ट
Okay.
प्रोसीजर, आई मीन नेक्स्ट स्टेप.
Okay, got it. So now what I have to do, just simply load your data, right? And we know that how to load the data. We have already inbuilt module which is like from sklearn. I will use the tab button. It will give me hint. There is an option which is like the data set, and I will use the load iris data, right? Now, how to particularly load this data? Because this is just a class, right? This is just a function. So I will just simply copy this and मैं इसके बगल में से like this paste कर दूंगा. Now I have to check the multiple keys available inside this, right? The keys is like कि इस डेटा के अंदर क्या क्या अवेलेबल है. इस डेटा के अंदर डेटा भी है, इस डेटा के अंदर टारगेट भी है. नाउ व्हाट एग्जैक्टली दिस डेटा एंड द टारगेट इज. सो द डेटा इज लाइक कि इस ये जो इमेजेस हैं, इस images का like we have the sepal length and the petal length, sepal width and petal width. Okay, so we should need the 4 different data of individual each flowers, right? So I will say कि this is my data variable. ठीक है, या instead of this variable let me just write like this कि ये मेरा iris का data है, and I want to check the keys from iris का data, right? So that ये data और data मेरा mix ना हो जाए, right? Now I want to say कि okay, pick this iris का data, एंड इस आइरिस के डेटा में से इस डेटा को कॉल कर लो, एंड वी नो दैट दिस डेटा इज लाइक सेपल का लेंथ, सेपल का विड्थ, पेटल का लेंथ एंड पेटल का विड्थ. लाइक ये ऑल दीज आर लाइक माई डेटा. ये इस डेटा के बेसिस पे आई नीड टू चेक कि विच क्लासेस ऑफ फ्लावर लाइक दिस बिलोंग्स टू. लाइक आइरिस में ये किससे बिलोंग कर रहा है, वेदर इट इज लाइक फ्रॉम सिटोसा, वर्सिकुलर और वर्जीनिका, एंड वी हैव द 4 different features, and all these 4 different features are like my features name. So how to identify this? Like उसके लिए I will use this iris data and I'll say just give me the list of features, and this is the sequence, right? The first one is like your sepal length in centimeter, the second one is like your sepal width in centimeter, third one is petal length, and the fourth one is petal width. Now I want to convert this kind of data into a data frame so that I can simply visualize that data, and based on that data I can take some decisions, right? यही हमारा purpose होगा. And this problem belongs to classification, so I will try to visualize the data same as well, right? Now how to do this? So first of all you need to do one thing, pd dot data frame, and you know that inside this data frame you just need to pass this code. This will convert the array data into a data frame one like this, okay? And let me store this inside a df, right? The df is like my data frame. Now I want to give the columns name, I know that. So if I want to give the column name, so I can just simply write this code df dot columns. If I just run this will say कि अभी जो आपका column है it's like 0 to 4, but I'll say कि give the column name from this, like feature name में ही सारे column name रखे हुए हैं, so pick the same column name like this and just again show the df. Now you can just check कि okay, अब instead of 0 1 2 3 4 के अलावा I'm getting this as a column name, right? Now the third thing you want your y target data, and you know that कि inside this iris data the data are divided into two parts. The first one is like your आपका features, the features can be represented by data, and the second one is like your target. So target नाम से store है. So I'll say कि इस data frame में if I want to create a column, so I can just simply give a name like this df का target, एंड ये टारगेट का डेटा मुझे कहाँ से कॉल करना है? आई नो दैट कि आई वॉन्ट टू कॉल दिस टारगेट फ्रॉम दिस आयरिस डेटा में से, इस टारगेट के हेल्प से. सो लेट मी जस्ट राइट द सेम कोड कि आयरिस डेटा में से आई नीड अ टारगेट वैल्यू, एंड इस टारगेट वैल्यू को मैं इसके आगे असाइन कर दूंगा लाइक दिस, एंड लेट मी जस्ट रन दी डी एफ. नाउ यू कैन जस्ट चेक कि ओके वी आर गेटिंग सेपल लेंथ, sepal width, petal length and petal width and the target. But the ma'am, the target that we are getting is like 0 1 2. Why we are getting like 0 1 2? What exactly the issues with this, right? If I just run this iris ka target, why we are getting only like 0 1 2 0 1 and 2? Because 0 is like the 0 class of this flower belongs to, 1 is like 1 class and 2 is like the other class, right? Now you want to know na कि भाई target actually किस तरीके का है. So you can just do one thing, you have this data like the features name, like, and the frame as well and the target name. So what you will do, you can just simply call the target name as well कि 0 किसे कहते हैं, 1 किसे कहते हैं, 2 किसे कहते हैं. So I will call this with the like target name, and now this will give me कि 0 is like my sitosa, 1 is like my, क्योंकि ये this 0 is like 0 index पर sitosa है मेरा, 1 is like 1 index पर मेरा versicolor है, and 2 is like 2 index पर मेरा virginica है. So I know that कि 0 represent, whenever I am getting my answer as a like 0, so I can say that 0 represent a sitosa group, 1 represent versicolor group and 2 represent virginica group. Now the question is, instead of like using this setosa, versicolor and virginica, why we are using this 0 1 and 2? I have already cleared this thing like uh, in morning session. बताइए what exactly the like the problem with this and why we are using this, instead of इसके नाम के बजाय why I am using this 0 1 2? Just let me know. Anyone? Vivekanand sir, Dr. Shobha ma'am, Dr. Divya ma'am. See, we know that because the machine learning can only process the numerical data, right? But if we are getting the textual data, there is a concept that we need to perform, and that is called feature engineering, right? And that feature engineering represent we have to convert the textual data to numerical data, right? And that is the reason कि that particular data set consider this setosa as a 0, versicolor as a 1 and virginica as a 2. It represent कि भाई 0 इसको belong करेगा, 1 इसको and 2 इसको, right? So that it should be like मेरा x जो data है और जो y data है, they both should be numerical. वो मेरा आपका टेक्सुअल डेटा नहीं हो सकता. इफ द टारगेट वैल्यू लाइक टेक्सुअल इन नेचर, first we need to convert all those textual data into a numerical one, then we can further proceed with the machine learning model creation. Otherwise हम नहीं कर सकते. So let me just write one single step कि यहाँ पर before starting our like training and testing data part, so just perform the future in like the feature engineering. Okay, and the feature engineering lies converting the textual data into a numerical one. Well, the feature engineering is also like data normalize करना पड़ता है. We have to standardize the data as well, right? Textual को numerical में convert करना पड़ता है. We need to reduce the multicollinearity. We need to reduce the multiple column as well, which is called the dimensionality reduction. ये सब मेरा feature engineering का ही part है, right? Now the second step is, okay, we have a complete data frame. अब हमारे पास ये proper data frame है, and let me just show you कि how to read this. If we have like sepal length, अगर किसी flower का sepal length इतना है, सेपल विड्थ इतना है, पेटल लेंथ इतना है एंड पेटल विड्थ इतना है, तो वो किससे बिलोंग करेगा मैम? इट बिलोंग्स टू सिटोसा ग्रुप. लेट मी रन दिस कोड अगेन. अगर किसी फ्लावर का सेपल लेंथ इतना है, सेपल विड्थ इतना है, पेटल लेंथ एंड पेटल विड्थ, दिस बिलोंग्स टू टारगेट टू. टारगेट टू कौन है? दिस वन इज लाइक टारगेट जीरो, टारगेट वन एंड टारगेट टू. टारगेट टू कौन है मैम? वर्जीनी का. यस या नो? राइट. सो df डॉट सैम्पल विल ट्राई टू गिव यू कि ठीक है, एक आध डेटा को आप एनालाइज कर सकते हैं. नाउ द नेक्स्ट स्टेप इज, वी वांट टू कन्वर्ट आर डेटा इनटू x एंड y. देन वी विल कॉल ट्रेन टेस्ट स्प्लिट, एंड देन उसके बाद हम डिफरेंट डिफरेंट ml मॉडल्स ट्राई करेंगे. देन वी विल फाइनलाइज द मॉडल एंड वी विल सेव द मॉडल, एंड देन उसके बाद हम उस मॉडल के बेस पे प्रोडिक्शन करेंगे वट एवर द डेटा दैट वी वॉन्ट, राइट. सो लेट मी जस्ट मूव विद द फर्दर स्टेप, राइट. सो द सेकेंड स्टेप इज लाइक, हमें ब्रेक करना है डेटा इनटू टारगेट एंड फीचर्स, राइट. नाउ हाउ टू डू दिस? वी नो दैट कि आयरिस के डेटा में दिस बिलोंग्स टू माई एक्स डेटा. सो आई विल से लेट मी स्टोर दिस इनसाइड एक्स, राइट. एंड आयरिस का the target is like your y 0 1 2, and this is like my y data. Now we have break our data into two different part. The first one is like x data set and the second one is like y data set. Okay, I don't think इससे related कुछ doubt होगा. If any doubt, then just please let me know. Now the second thing that we have to do is like, we need to convert this x and y data into a training and testing part. Why we are doing this? Again I'll repeat कि ट्रेनिंग पार्ट में हम कम डेटा को लेके ट्रेन करेंगे, क्योंकि वी डोंट हैव दी लाइक प्रैक्टिकल सिनेरियो. अभी हम पे करंट सिचुएशन नहीं है कि बाहर से कोई मुझे डेटा ला करके देगा. सो व्हाट आई वाज डूइंग कि इसी पार्ट को दो पार्ट में डिवाइड कर लो, एंड कुछ पार्ट को रख लो फॉर लाइक ट्रेनिंग पर्पस, एंड उसी में से कुछ डेटा को रख लो टेस्टिंग पर्पस के लिए, राइट. सो जैसे कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल हम गॉड के आगे, भगवान के आगे हम कुछ प्रसाद चढ़ाते हैं ना, सो कुछ उसी में से हम निकाल के अपने पास रख लेते हैं, कुछ भगवान को चढ़ाते हैं. तो सेम एज इट इज़ वो सेम डेटा में से कुछ हम टेस्टिंग के लिए रख लेंगे और कुछ हम ट्रेनिंग के लिए रख लेंगे. एंड इसके लिए वी नीड टू यूज दिस स्टेप विच इज लाइक ट्रेन टेस्ट स्प्लिट, राइट. Okay, train test split. Now before I just start the train test split, I just need to like मेरे को अपने डेटा को समझ में भी आना चाहिए कि ये डेटा है कैसा, राइट. ये डेटा लाइक अगर मैं इसे इफ आई जस्ट सिंपली ड्रॉ स्कैटर प्लॉट रिलेटेड टू दिस, तो ये किस तरीके का डेटा है, राइट. लेट मी जस्ट शो यू द को रिलेशन बिटवीन सेपल लेंथ एंड सेपल विड्थ, राइट. पीएलटी डॉट स्कैटर डीएफ का सेपल लेंथ का डीएफ का सेपल विड्थ के साथ, राइट. डीएफ के सेपल लेंथ का, बिकॉज वी आर यूजिंग स्कैटर प्लॉट ना, सो स्कैटर प्लॉट इज लाइक वो मुझे कोरिलेशन बताने में हेल्प करेगा. डीएफ का स्कैटर प्लॉट मुझे बनाना है सेपल लेंथ का सेपल विड्थ के साथ, राइट. एंड जस्ट शो दिस माय मिस्टेक. Okay, so we have this data, right. plt dot scatter like df sepal length and df sepal width. But the thing is that कि ये तो कुछ इस तरीके का आ रहा है, इसको देख के मैं क्या समझूं? ये लीनियर रिग्रेशन मॉडल तो नहीं है. दिस बिलोंग्स टू माय क्लासिफिकेशन प्रॉब्लम. बट मैम डोंट यू थिंक कि इसमें अच्छा होता, मुझे ये पता लग जाता कि कितना स्कैटर एरिया किस फ्लावर को बिलोंग कर रहा है, जीरो को कौन बिलोंग कर रहा है, वन को कौन बिलोंग कर रहा है, टू को कौन बिलोंग कर रहा है. डोंट यू थिंक वो ज़्यादा अच्छा होता मेरे लिए? So now I will divide my data frame into three different parts, right? Three different data frames. And believe me, ये काफ़ी important steps है, आपको समझना पड़ेगा सारी चीज़ों को. Three data frames. The first data frame df1 is going to, df1 वो होगा जहाँ पर मेरा टारगेट, df1 में जहाँ पर मेरा टारगेट जो होगा वो जीरो के बराबर होगा. जीरो मीन्स लाइक जिसमें खाली मेरे सिटोसा फ्लावर होंगे, 0 रिप्रेजेंट सिटोसा। तो मैंने इसे कॉपी कर लिया एंड यहाँ जस्ट मैंने कमेंट आउट करके रख लिया लाइक दिस, ठीक है। परफेक्ट, दिस रिप्रेजेंट माई जीरोथ फ्लावर, कि ये मेरा सिटोसा फ्लावर का ही है, और इसे मैंने स्टोर कर लिया df1 के नाम से, राइट। एंड यू हैव टू रन अ कोड लाइक दिस, ठीक है। देखिए मेरा डेटा फ्रेम 1 बन गया। नाउ आई विल क्रिएट अ डेटा फ्रेम 2, डेटा फ्रेम 3, एंड सब डेटा फ्रेम में अलग अलग मेरा स्टोर होगा। सेकेंड डेटा फ्रेम इज लाइक रिलेटेड टू माई versicolor. See what, why I am doing all these things, right? I am dividing my data frame into 3 different parts so that मैं उनको visualize कर पाऊँ, right? And I am doing this with the help of pandas के थ्रू हम कर रहे हैं। सो द डेटा फ्रेम में 1 में जो है, या लेट मी राइट दिस, डेटा फ्रेम 0 में 0 ही रहेगा, डेटा फ्रेम 1 में 1 रहेगा, एंड डेटा फ्रेम 2 में मेरा 2 डेटा फ्रेम रहेगा, राइट। नाउ इन दिस वे वी हैव क्रिएटेड आर 3 डिफरेंट डेटा फ्रेम्स, एंड जस्ट क्रॉस वेरीफाई दिस। df0 में खाली देखिए यहाँ पर टारगेट में 000 लिखा हुआ है, बिकॉज यहाँ पर 0 वाला ही आपके पास डेटा फ्रेम है। नाउ सेम चेक विद द डेटा फ्रेम 1, डेटा फ्रेम 1 में आपके पास टारगेट 1 वाला है, एंड डेटा फ्रेम 2 में यू विल हैव द डेटा फ्रेम ओनली लाइक 2 रिलेटेड, जिसमें टारगेट मेरा 2 से है। सो यू कैन जस्ट से दैट कि इंस्टेड ऑफ शोइंग दिस सारा डेटा, जस्ट गिव मी द टॉप 5 डेटा। तो टॉप 5 डेटा कुछ इस तरीके से हम यहाँ पर देख सकते हैं। नाउ वाई आई एम डूइंग दिस, बिकॉज इंस्टेड ऑफ दिस ग्राफ आई वॉन्ट टू शो कि मुझे तीनों ग्राफ दिखाना है। df सेपल लेंथ सेपल विड्थ मुझे df0 के लिए भी दिखाओ लाइक दिस, ओके। कॉपी दिस कोड, पेस्ट एंड पेस्ट। सेम यही चीज मुझे डेटा फ्रेम 1 के लिए भी दिखाओ, सेम यही चीज मुझे डेटा फ्रेम 2 के लिए भी दिखाओ। We have 3 different data frames, right? And if I just run this, I'll get the scatter plot like this. Now you know that कि ये जो मेरा पहले वाला है ये किसको रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा था? This represent LABEL, label is equals to data frame 0, and data frame 0 मैम क्या था मेरा? Data frame 0 is like my सिटोसा, तो ये मेरे सिटोसा को बिलोंग कर रहा है। Label 2, LABEL, label 2 is like my data frame 2, data frame 2 represent versicolor, तो यहाँ पर I will pick this as a versicolor, right? Now the third is like data frame 3, data frame is like virginica, and I will give the same label as virginica like this. And let me show the complete legend, plt dot legend, and now this will give you, why we are getting error, okay, there might be mistake related to this label, okay, and this will give you the 3 colors, right? Now can anyone explain me, just let me know what exactly this represent, anyone, any idea? बताइए। डॉक्टर शोभा मैम, डॉक्टर चांद सर, विवेकानंद सर, डॉक्टर अर्चना मैम, दिव्या मैम, इंदू मैम, एनीवन, लाइक कि वाई ये सारा हमें क्यों करना पड़ा, वाई वी हैव क्रिएटेड दिस, सो दैट बिकॉज ये जो स्कैटर प्लॉट था ना, कंसिस्ट ऑल डेटा फ्रॉम आपके तीनों फ्लावर से, एंड आई वॉन्ट टू चेक कि मेरा स्पेसिफिक फ्लावर स्पीसीज का क्या कोरिलेशन है बिटवीन व्हाट, बिटवीन सेपल लेंथ एंड सेपल विड्थ में। यस, एनीवन, एनी आइडिया, बताइए। ओके, so now we have created this scatter plot so that I can analyze, okay, let me just do one thing, मैं यहाँ पर plt dot I will use my label कि x actually किसे रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा है, x रिप्रेजेंटिंग आपका सेपल लेंथ, एंड plt dot y लेबल y रिप्रेजेंटिंग आपका सेपल विड्थ, राइट। See, if you're working as a machine learning engineer ना, you need to understand your data first. सेपल लेंथ का सेपल विड्थ से क्या कोरिलेशन है? मैम डोंट यू थिंक कि ये क्लस्टर, ये ग्रुप ऑफ डेटा मेरा बिलोंग कर रहा है सिटोसा को, बताइए। दिस ग्रुप ऑफ क्लस्टर बिलोंग्स टू सिटोसा ग्रुप, एंड वेनेवर आपका कोई भी नया डेटा, देखिए कितना इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है, वेनेवर एनी न्यू डेटा पॉइंट्स, अगर वो उसका कोरिलेशन, अब आप लोग खुद बताएंगे मुझे, अगर उसका कोरिलेशन का कहीं वैल्यू यहाँ कहीं आता है, सो विवेकानंद सर आप बताइए, इट इज क्लोज टू आपका सिटोसा के पास है, या ये आपका वर्सी कलर के पास है, या ये आपका वर्जीनिका के पास है, बताइए किसके क्लोज है, अगर ये नया डेटा पॉइंट कोरिलेशन में चेक करता हूं तो, एवरीवन बताओ। इट्स क्लोज टू सिटोसा ना, सो आई कैन से कि जो नया डेटा पॉइंट है वो मेरा सिटोसा ग्रुप को बिलोंग करता है। इफ आई एम गेटिंग एनी न्यू डेटा पॉइंट्स लाइक दिस, और वो कहीं यहां पर बिलोंग करता है, सो आई कैन से दैट कि ओके, बेस्ड ऑन सेपल लेंथ एंड सेपल विड्थ, दे माइट बी पॉसिबिलिटी कि ये मेरा वर्सी कलर को बिलोंग करे और वर्जीनिका को बिलोंग करे। दैट इज द रीजन ना, आई विल चेक पेटल लेंथ एंड पेटल विड्थ ऑल्सो, so that I can take decision based on petal length and petal width. Now what I'll do, मैं पूरे को copy करूंगा, and let me just do one thing, मैं इसे show कर देता हूँ, this plt dot title. See, if you have any question ना, then you can ask, so that आप लोग को और better understanding मिल पाए. बताइए. This title is like sepal length versus sepal width of each flower. Sepal length versus sepal width. Okay, this is a correlation between आपका sepal length and sepal width, and once you run this you will get this scatter plot, complete scatter plot, and that shows you the relationship between sepal length and sepal width followed by different set of flowers, right? The setosa, versicolor, and the virginica. Now what about the petal length and petal width, right? So just copy the same code, and instead of sepal length centimeter, sepal length centimeter, sepal length, just do one thing, replace the sepal length with the petal length, right? So I'll do one thing, just copy this petal length, and whenever like you are getting this sepal length na, just simply paste this, right? Petal length, petal length, again the petal length, same with this one petal length, and same with this one the petal length, right? Now what about the next one, which is like the petal width? Petal width, again this one is the petal width, and same this one is the petal width, right? And let me remove this to petal width, and same with this one, right? Now you run this, you will get the data set like this. Okay, so petal length and petal width ka correlation is like here setosa. Okay, and the second one is like the versicolor, and the third one is like virginica. Okay, so in this way, you can just simply say कि there is a good correlation between petal length and petal width, because here you can see the complete differentiation between the correlation of a petal length and a petal width followed by different set of flowers, right? Whether it belongs to setosa, versicolor, or virginica. Am I right, Indu ma'am? Yes or no? So the thing is that that's why the visualization of your data set is very important, and you cannot directly take decision based on your data set. You have to visualize your data set as well, and that's where the EDA come into the market, and you need to perform your exploratory data analysis over the data set, right? Now we know that based on sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width, we can classify our data into three different categories: setosa, versicolor, and virginica. Now we need to convert all X data and Y data into a training and testing part. Okay, so before I just proceed with the next step, let me know any question or any doubt related to this. Anyone? Dr. Shobha ma'am, Dr. Indu ma'am, Dr. Chand sir, Dr. Divya ma'am, Vivekanand sir. Any doubt related to this? Or shall I just proceed further? Just let me know. Okay. So now what I'll do? The thing is that we need to understand we have the data X and Y, but we want to convert this data into training and testing part. Okay. So I have written this train test split here, but instead of this, you need to write this step EDA. You are exploring your data, right? And just give a step like train and test split, train, test, split, right? So what you have to do, just simply call train test split this module, and just pass your X and Y data and give the test size. And the test size is like, you can just simply say ki 0.2, it's like the 20% of the test size. And let me just go to their documentation. Instead of writing this manually, right, I can say ki uh, instead of writing this manually, right, you can just copy and paste X train, X test, Y train, and Y test, right? So after running this code now, we will get data set divided into four parts. The first is like X training part, X test, Y train, and Y test part, right? Just simply write the done, right? And now the next step that you further need to do, because you have converted or divided your data into training and testing part. Now you need to call the multiple models and to run and train your model with different algorithms that you have, and this is the next step. And the next step is like train your ML model. Okay, train your ML model and check the accuracy and the score and the confusion metrics, because this data set belongs to like the classification problem. So you cannot call MAC, MAE, and like the R2 score, because in generally we call the same when we are working with like the linear regression problem, not with the classification one, right? So this is like my classification. Okay, just anybody let me know what exactly this type of classification is. It is like the binary classification or like multi-class classification? Vivekanand sir, any idea? Because we have more than two classes now, so I can just simply say this belongs to multi-class classification, right? And we have a three different classes right now. So just first call the very basic model, which is like the logistic regression. Logistic regression, again, it's very important for classification kind of stuff, right? And now what you have to do, just simply call your model, which is like from sklearn dot linear model, and import your logistic regression. And believe me, the steps are very easy, right? Just call this logistic regression and now create a model. And instead of like simply writing this as a model, let me write this model lr means logistic regression. Now what you have to do, just simply call this class and use this variable name model underscore lr to fit and train your model. Fit is a method that will try to train, the like model, and will try to find out the intercept value and the coefficients, right? Now you have to just simply give the x and y, but the problem is that we have divided our data into four part, so we can only give the training x and y. We know that the training x and y are like x train and y train, so just give this x underscore train and then comma y underscore train, right? And once you run this, you will get the logistic regression kind of this stuff. It shows that you have created a model. Now the thing is that you need to again find what exactly the model accuracies are. You have to find the predicted value as well, right? And we know that now for prediction value, we particularly pick this data, which is like the x test. Based on x test, this is like my question paper key. Now based on this x test, just try to give me the target value, right? So what exactly this x test are? Ye mere x test kya hai? We have all these multiple like sepal length, sepal width, petal length and petal width, and based on this I want to calculate the predicted value for all the given data set, right? Now just simply call this model underscore lr. There is a function which is like the predict function. Inside this predict function, always give the x data set. If you are using the training and testing module, then always give the x test data set. It will try to return and give you the y predicted value. And why we are getting the 0 1 2 value? Because we know that we have only three classes. 0 represent to which classes? Setosa, versicolor by 1 and the virginica followed by 2, right? That is the reason we are getting, based on whatever the x test data set we have, we are getting the three different classes or the groups. Now I can simply say, okay, let me just store this value inside ypred. Ypred of what? Ypred of my lr model. Lr model is like my logistic regression model, right? Just simply print this lr, ypred lr, right? Okay, now these are the classes that you have predicted. Okay, don't you think like it's it could be the better one if instead of like predicting this in class format ki 0 kya hai, 1 kya hai, 2 kya hai, can I just directly print ki 0 represents Setosa, 1 versicolor and the virginica? That could be the like the better one comparatively to 0 1 to show karna. So let me do this कि ये कैसे करेंगे. I'll pick like x test data, and inside x test data we have multiple data set, right? Let me call any sample data. So I can just simply run this sample. There is no such sample method. So just try to give any random indexing, like let me give the 23. 23 will give me the like random value of sepal length, sepal width, petal length and petal width. Now what I'll try to do, I'll try to use this sepal length, sepal width, petal length and petal width for my model prediction. So what I'll do, let me just simply use this model lr dot predict, and inside this predict I need to give the sepal length, sepal width, petal length and petal width. Just copy this data and pass it. And it says ki it expected a 2D array, and we have given a 1D array. So how to convert this 1D array to 2D array? Just simply apply a single bracket, right? We know that ki hame data frame mein dena padta hai, right? And once you run this, it says ki this sepal length, sepal width, petal length, petal width belongs to 0 class, and 0 class is what? 0 class is what? Setosa. So instead of this 0, I'll say कि इस 0 value को बाहर call कर लो. So just call this 0 value. You will get the final output value and store this inside the index. I can just simply say कि this is like my answer. Yeah, instead of index, let me store inside answer. And I'll say ki we have three different classes now. The three different classes are like this: iris, target, name. Okay, so I'll create a variable which is like flower name. And this flower, if instead of flower name it should be species, right? Okay, and let me write the flower species, right? And I know that कि whatever the answer that I am getting, उसी answer के basis पे try to get their name, right? So just simply write this type of code and it will give you the answer, right? And you can just simply say final prediction, final prediction, and you can print the final prediction. Final species is, and I can get the final species answer from this final prediction, and I am getting the final species is Setosa. Okay, now instead of like calling this, let me create four variables. Okay, sepal length is like my SL. Let me write it in a proper way: sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width, right? And I'll give some random values, right? And based on all these random value, I need to give the array inside my predict function. Okay, so I'll create arr is like my array, and it should be like inside double square bracket, and this should be in sequence, and the sequence is like this: sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width. Okay, so sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width. Now just copy this variable name and pass like this कि ये क्या करेगा, it will try to convert the numerical data into a array, right? Sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width, right? And once you got this array, you need to pass this array inside a predict function. And you know that your model has a predict function, model.predict, right? And inside this predict, I will pass this array. This array will give me the result, same code, right? This array will give me the answer, and वो आंसर मुझे जीरो इंडेक्स से स्लाइस करना है, राइट? ऑल दिस आर रिलेटेड टू प्रोग्रामिंग, राइट? आपको थोड़ा बहुत सीखना पड़ेगा, अदरवाइज इट्स लाइक you don't need to learn all these things. You just need to understand these things, right? Because we have very short span of time. So what I'll do, इस आंसर में लेट मी जस्ट फर्स्ट रन दिस कोड, राइट? कि ये इतना कोड क्या कर रहा है मेरा. सपोज द सेपल लेंथ इज लाइक 2 centimeter. The sepal width is like 4.5 centimeter. The petal length is, this is just a random value you can give, like the 2.5 centimeter, and let me write this as a 1 centimeter. Now if I just run this answer, it gives me like 0 represent कि मेरा सिटोसा ग्रुप से बिलोंग करेगा. What if I convert this like 0.9, yeah, 0 point kind of something, this again it represents 0. So I need to play with the numbers like this: 5.8, again it's 0. Let me check with the 6.5, again it belongs to 0. What about this one? Yeah, now this time it's belongs to 2. So it shows that if you are getting the sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width like this should be this should belongs to like two group. And what exactly the two classes? So you know that you have to call the code like this: final prediction, and inside final prediction you can just run this code. Okay, and this will give you the final answer. And now the final species is the, instead of final species, let me run this as predicted species. Predicted species is virginica. Now you can change, right? So suppose if the sepal width is like 2.5, so the predicted species is virginica. If the petal length is like 2.5, so the predicted species is versicolor. If the petal width is like 3.9, it's again the versicolor. If the sepal width is like 2.8, it's like the setosa. So you know that now we have created a model, and inside this model we just need to give all these values, and it will try to predict me the values. Yes, it will try to predict me the classes as well. Okay, now let me know, don't you think the model that we have created is very good, and we can predict the values by giving the data set that we have, and by like inputting the sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width. Okay, so Vivekanand sir, Dr. Indu ma'am, Dr. Shobha ma'am, any doubt related to this? Anyone? Let me know. बताइए. So now this is just the first model. Now what
You
we have
can
to.
share one data set.
Okay,
You
so
can
ma'am,
share the data set
ma'am,
and
the data set is like already in available inside a module, right? I have
no,
loaded this
no,
data
some
set.
different data set I'm talking about.
Okay, ma'am, got it.
Some different data set so that participants can practice.
Okay, so I'll have my like GitHub link. Okay, so I'll give you the link of this over the WhatsApp, and
You can share on the
okay.
group.
Right, right. And over this like GitHub link, you will find the multiple data sets, right? And you can all data set, you can practice the data, you can practice all the data set for like different kind of algorithm, right? So let me just share the same. Okay, let me copy this again. And this one is like my GitHub profile, okay? So you can download the data set, right? And like all the codes like Bangalore house price prediction, you can check whatever I have like created the multiple repositories. If you want to practice like machine learning in depth, you can follow the same, right? So let me just go to the code part, this one, right? Okay, so now we have created a model which is like the logistic regression, and it can predict the values, right? Now it's our responsibility to check the accuracy of this model. And because that problem is related to the classification one, na, so we need to print a classification report. We need to print like the confusion matrix, and all these are very popular terms when it comes to classification kind of problem, right? So how to like call this classification report and confusion matrix? We know that again this is a part of module, right? So from sklearn dot matrices, you can just simply call the classification report, and the second is like the confusion matrix, right? The confusion matrix, and this should only be done if the problem is related to classification. Otherwise you cannot use this like for regression kind of, but although we can use, but it is not recommended, right? So classification and confusion matrix. Now let me check the overall accuracy of my model. So for that I will do one thing, model lr, and I will use the score function, and inside this score function it will ask like x and y data. The x data is close to going to be my x test, and y data is like my y pred, okay? And once you run this, okay, found input variable with inconsistent number of samples, okay, x data, x test data, and y pred. Okay, the ypred should be like lr, okay? We have used a different variable name. Instead of this, it should be ypred lr. Now, once you run this, you are getting again. See, because the data set is very neat and clean, right? And very small data set. That's why we are getting, and you are not allowed to use the xtrain data set because you cannot check the score related to xtrain. If you want, that could belongs to training accuracy. This is like my testing accuracy. If you want to check this with the train as well, you can use this like x underscore train, and not with the ypred. It should be like with the y train, right? X train with the y train, and it is like the training accuracy like 0.98. And if you just check with the, see, we have already checked with the like y test data set, which is like x test and y test, right? So in the logistic regression we have created this module, and this modules is like uh, we have created this model, and this model with the accuracy of 1 represent like a 100%. Now what about the another model? See, we know that now being an ml engineer you need to test your different models. So this one is like your logistic regression model. Now what about another model? So you can use the decision tree as well. Decision tree is again you can use for like the classification purpose, decision tree, and you can use this decision tree for like regression purpose as well, right? So let me just show you what exactly this decision trees are. It is just like the day to day decisions we generally take by using basic if and else, right? So it is like we have a root node and then followed by the leaf node, right? So it start with the like the decision one, it's like the main root node, and then followed by the multiple leaf node, and then again further leaf node divided into sub node, like sub node, and then further root node, and then like aapka leaf node, okay? So decision one, if the answer is yes, then you can plan for decision 2. If inside this decision 2, if the answer is yes, then you can plan for this outcome, or otherwise you can plan for this like no. Inside this no, you have again multiple decision. So this decision trees are like you are particularly creating multiple trees of yes and no's, of like trues and false, right? And when it comes to like iris set of classification, so it should be like it is completely based upon the values, right? And we will create this type of like decision tree abhi banayenge. It is like it uses the first decision as a petal width, right? If the petal width is less than is equals to something this, so the classes that it will get and the values are like this will get it represent the index values, right? And the overall samples, right? So if the petal length, if the petal width is like less than or is equals to 0.8, this is like my first decision. Inside this first decision, if the like Guinea impurities, see all these are like my mathematical modeling of like Guinea impurities and the samples that could directly belong to Setosa class. If the petal length is like inside this 0.8, this is like my petal width, right? If inside this petal width, if my petal length is like less than or is equals to 4.75 with the Guinea impurities and sample, I will get the class is like versicolor. Inside a versicolor, again I will divide into further two decision nodes, and it is like petal width. If it is less than 1.6 1.65 centimeter, I will get the class like versicolor. And all these colors, whatever like you are seeing here, it's belong to different class. This green one is like the versicolor, and this orange one is like the Setosa, and all rest belongs to आपका Virginica. So whatever that we have created is a complete decision nodes and the like root nodes and the trees node, which is like we refer this as a leaf node, right? So let me just show you decision tree, root node and leaf node, right? See, all stuff belongs to like machine learning kind of stuff, right? So you can just say ki it's not exactly that much required for business analysts, but if you deeply like dive into the ML concept, then you need to follow the same thing, right? So root node is like my the first decision node, and then further first decision node is divided into sub decision node, and then decision nodes are called my like subtrees. And whenever I will get the final answer, that final answer is like my leaf node. After leaf node, there cannot be like no decision node, I can say. The leaf node should be the final one, right? And once you are at like your decision node, you have to again go through and check your multiple leaf node, right? And leaf node is the final one. And this is how like the decision tree look like, right? And we will again use the same model, and we'll try to work on the same data set to just differentiate and classify key how exactly logistic regression is performing in the same data set, and what about the like decision trees and the random forest, or like the different ML algorithms that we have, right? So let me use different algorithms, which is like my decision tree. Now again you need to call your like model, and what exactly the model is. See, this ML model you can just simply call from tree, right? So from sklearn, you cannot call this from linear regression, because this is not a part of linear regression. This is a part of my tree module, and inside this tree module there is a two different types of like algorithm. The first one is for the classifier, and the second one is for the regression. We know that now we can use decision tree for both linear regression kind of problem and for the classification one also, right? So this one is like my decision tree classifier. Now you have to just repeat the same step. If you don't know the exact steps are, let me just give you. We will import the module, we will call the class and create an object of this. Then we will try to fit the model. After fitting, we will create a ypred, and after ypred you can use the complete set of code same, right? आपको कुछ extra करने की जरूरत नहीं है, right? So let me just show you how to do this. We will create a model, and this time the model is like dt. We have used the lr, which represent the logistic regression. Now this is dt, and inside this dt we want to use this decision tree classifier. We have already created our x-train dataset and y-train dataset, so there is no further requirement of creating the same thing again and again, right? Now what we will do, inside this model dt, we will try to fit, or like we want to train our model, and we will give that data which is like the x-train dataset and followed by the y-train dataset, right? Now if you just run this, you have created like your decision tree model. And now inside this decision tree model, what you want to do, you just want to check your y prediction, and this time the y prediction should be from decision tree. So I will override the variable name with the name of like ypred dt. And what you have to do, just simply use this model, and inside model you will get this predict function. And you know that now inside this predict function you have to just pass this x test data, and rest you can use the same code, right? After this ypred, I need to store answer inside Xtest, or let me just copy this code, right? Let me just copy this code, and if the sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width remain the same, so I'll create an array for this, and instead of using this model LR, I will use the model DT. And in the same way that you can use the multiple models to predict the final value, like this is the best use cases that you can do, because we just need to focus on model creation, and we need to finalize the best model, and we can use the same code again and again, right? So this array is like store inside this format, and we will store the final answer inside answer variable, and then we will try to predict the answer. So you can just say key that this time it belongs to Virginica. Now let me just check the model accuracy by the, like this is the model score by my logistic regression. And if I just copy the same code, what about the model score by decision tree? Just remove the LR to DT, right? And this will again give you the same accuracy one, because the data set is very limited, right? That's why you are getting the accuracy score is 1. But in generally practical example, 80 to 85% or score in generally you will get, right? 80 to 85%. And for that you need to work on hyperparameter tuning, so that you can further train your model like on different arguments and like the parameters, right? So this one is like your decision tree model accuracy and score. And what about the training accuracy? So you can just copy the same code and just paste it here, and instead of this just write this dt. So you are getting the training accuracy as 1, and you can just simply check कि inside training accuracy, inside like logistic regression, you were getting the training accuracy like closely to 98%, but inside decision tree we got like testing accuracy at 100% and the training accuracy with the 100%. Now how to visualize this decision tree, right? Whatever that we have created. So for that you need to import a module, and that module is like your decision tree module that can show you the overall tree version, right? So for that just call this from sklearn dot tree, and inside this tree you just need to call this, which one is like plot tree. Plot tree is the option, right? Let me just hit tab button, yeah, this one. And now how to visualize this tree? Very easy one. You just call this plot tree and give your model name, and your model name is model dt, right? Just run this. These are the by default text values that you are getting, and if you want to color it out, we can do the same thing, right? And simply run this plt.show, right? This is the decision tree. It's like x values, x ka 3 sample ka data like 0 point x3 means x ka third column. We know that na x ka third column, what exactly this is? X का third column. So df का ये जो columns है मेरे पास, inside this df का column 0 1 2 3. So x का third column is like it picked the petal width for final classification, right? So x ka third column is like my decision node, and that one is like my leaf node. Again this is like the decision node, decision node, decision node, and that further is the leaf node. Again this one is the decision node. Now I want to create the same decision tree like this, जहाँ पर I'll get the same color, the petal width name, and the overall color combinations and all, right? So for that what you need to do, just simply inside this argument you will get multiple options like the feature names and all, right? So I will say the feature names instead of this x3 x का 3 दिखाने से अच्छा है feature names. I have the iris data, right? And उस iris data के अंदर I have the feature names. Now if you just run this ना, you can just simply check वो x का 3 की बजाय it will give you the petal width, right? And petal length this time. So you can use this code. Now if you want to color out this, so you can just say कि भाई you have an again argument which is like the class name, and inside this class name the class names are like you can give the target names, right? So just simply call this iris data, and whatever the target that you have, right, pass this, and this will color out the data as well, right? It's not showing you color. There might be problem related to the field option. So yeah, this is the problem, right? The field is false, right? So what you have to do, just simply call this field option as a true instead of false. just write this as true, right? Not this one true, you have to use this one, right? And you are getting the same answer, yes or no? But the quality is not up to that level, so for that you need to use the plt dot figure, right? So plt is like your matplotlib. So inside this plt dot figure, just simply call this fixed size, and you can change your fixed size as well, which let me pick 10 cross 10, and it should give me the fixed size with the like the quality value related to this, like the petal width, guinea impurity, like the classes I am getting is a setosa, and the classes that is versicolor, and with the virginica as well, right? So in this way we can create the model with the help of decision tree, and we have created the same model with the help of logistic regression. This one is like your decision tree algorithm, and the third that you can use is a random forest. You can use the naive Bayes as well, you can use support vector classifier. So we have multiple algorithms, right? If I just simply let you know, it is like closely related to, we have 30 to 40 of ml algorithms, and we can use as per our requirement. But in generally when we work with different data set, we need to use the multiple algorithms, we need to write the coding from scratch, and we can use the loop concept as well, the functional concept as well, so that instead of copying and pasting the same code again and again, we can create a function. But right now, because you are not that much familiar with the function, so that's why I am not showing you how to create a function for this. But believe me, if I know how to create a function, and if I just simply create a function, I don't required to copy and paste each code again and again, right? So that is the power of the function inside Python, right? So we have implemented the decision tree model with like for the iris dataset, right? And we have predicted the value, we check the overall score as well. And if I want to user, so that they can give their values and they can give their like the final predicted species, so with the help of this I can simply let me just copy this, right? And I can simply like create a website form for this. Instead of directly giving the value, let's just create a website, and where the user can give the values related to sepal length, sepal width, and the backend model will try to run the prediction and give you the final answer. Okay, let me know any doubt related to this. Dr. Pooja ma'am, Dr. Indu ma'am, Dr. Varsha ma'am, Dr. Shobha ma'am, Dr. Archana ma'am, Dr. Vivekanand sir. We have, see, this is our project, right? And we have implemented two model, and you know that now the level of complexity that we need to deal on day-to-day basis while we have, see, because the data set is already clean, that's why we are not facing that much level of problems, right? But imagine if we are getting very messy data, we need to work on data wrangling, data munging as well, right? And all these very popular term related to data cleaning. Now what about the different algorithms? We know that now we have used this logistic regression as well, decision tree. What about the random forest like the svm, the knn? We can use like the decision tree here, the support vector regression here also. Lasso and ridge regression is very popular one when we want to deal with overfitting and underfitting of model. Then in regression problem we need to use the lasso and ridge regression, again very easy one, right? See, the thing is that we have a two types of ml engineers right now in the market. The first one that only know how to write and how to code, and the second one is like that generally know what exactly the fundamental concept behind all these algorithm, the mathematical implementation. And if you want to be a good ml engineer, you just need to focus on mathematical implementation rather than the just the coding aspect, because I can simply use the chat gpt and that will give me the coding aspect of what exactly the ml model that we need to build on, right? So the thing is that always focus on ml implementation or intuition behind the mathematical crux that we need to work on, right? So let me just pick the random forest this time, and then I'll give you the knife based algorithm. And again it's very easy, I just need to copy and paste the code, and for like different algorithms. So before I just further proceed, let me know any doubt if you have, right? Dr. Pooja ma'am, Indu ma'am, Dr. Shobha ma'am, any doubt, or shall I just further proceed? Bataiye. Okay, are you
मैं
getting my point ना? ये समझ में आ रहा है? It's not like कि बहुत ज़्यादा rush हो गया. Although it is, I know.
रश तो
हाँ.
हो गया है
Yeah, right. Because I cannot like deny the same thing. I know ना कि भाई इतना पढ़ाने के लिए it required almost like 20 to 30 hours of like gradually process. So it is like kind of rush I can say. But the thing is that कि you are already very like renowned faculties, and you can like work on yourself as well. So you just need the overall overview and idea, right? So just let me know any doubt related to this. Bataiye ma'am. Yes, Dr. Varsha ma'am, you were saying something. Bataiye.
I think we can go ahead.
Okay. Any sort of questions or queries related to this, like why we are doing all these things? Yes. Yes, ma'am. Indu ma'am, you are saying something. Bataiye. Let me turn on my camera as well. Bataiye.
नहीं, एक्चुअली पार्टिसिपेंट्स भी पूरे अभी हैं नहीं, और
Hmm.
ये बहुत जल्दी में भी हो रहा है ना, तो आई थिंक सब लोग पहली बार लर्न कर रहे हैं, आई थिंक मोस्ट ऑफ देम, आई मीन
Okay.
लर्निंग फॉर द फर्स्ट
Right.
टाइम, आई
Hmm.
गेस। तो मतलब जब तक कुछ ये डेटा सेट पे खुद से अनलेस दे प्रैक्टिस
Definitely.
देमसेल्व्स दे वोंट बी एबल टू कम आउट विद देयर क्वेरीज.
Definitely.
So
And
because it
hmm,
starts with data cleaning steps, and then we need to look at the data, how to convert the data, normalization of data, a lot of
right.
steps
Of
involved in
course.
machine learning
Right.
models.
Definitely, ma'am.
So I think right
So
now
I would
we need to
suggest, see, I
practice.
would suggest like, see, the main agenda or like the purpose of this kind of workshop is to just get an overview or an insight or like what exactly that we need to do on day to day basis, right? So I cannot assure ki in just like a 5 to 6 hours of learning you will get like the decent hands on experience on machine learning implementation, right? There are lots of things. If you just want, I can give you like 100 plus hours of training just only for the machine learning, right? So we have a like
So
complete
that's true.
in-depth module for that,
It's
right?
not possible,
It's not possible. So the main
and
purpose,
that's why I
huh,
told in the beginning that we should have. I told in the beginning that we should have separate sessions for, I mean,
machine learning, right, right.
dedicated
Hmm.
sessions for machine learning. Yeah,
Right, right.
but
And believe me,
somehow
ma'am,
it.
like, and believe me, it is like I took the best as much as possible, because the thing is that like in
Mhm.
just a span of 5 to 6 hours na, I just only like need to explain the gradient descent concept, ML में data कैसे आता है and all, right? Basic stuffs only. Then the participant can digest the all things,
Okay,
right?
that's fine. I
Hmm.
mean, if participants
Okay, I would suggest like if you want the further extension of
this
this, then
area,
you can
so
plan, right?
that's okay. If they have, at least they have got some orientation about how they can work on machine learning models using Python.
Right.
So let's see.
Okay,
Okay,
so
let's continue.
let me just continue with the like the different algorithms. So we have already implemented this logistic regression. Now, what about the KNN knife base? Knife base is like very popular one. The knife means it's like bhola bhala algorithm. It just simply work on the probability concept, and the base represent like the use of Bayes theorem, right? So the main intuition behind this knife base algorithm is just a proper implementation of a Gaussian distribution and the Bayes theorem. Let me just show you, right? So knife base and random forest. So first let me just start with the random forest and then I can continue with the knife base one, right? So the third model is going to be like the random forest. Now what exactly this random forest is, right? So the forest looks like, we know that forest is just nothing, it's like the collection of multiple trees, right? So random forest represent, we are using the multiple decision trees, and it is a kind of ensemble learning. There is a like very two popular term. The first one is called like bagging, and the second one is called like the boosting, right? And this random forest is a kind of ensemble technique. In ensemble technique, we will try to create a bags of multiple models, and this random forest is that kind of algorithm, like it is a part of ensemble technique, okay? And inside random forest we are using multiple trees. What kind of trees? The trees are related to decision trees algorithm. So instead of like this, you can say instead of using this random forest, I can simply implement, or I can simply use the multiple decision trees and to create my model again and again, and I'll check the overall weightage of each trees, and whatever they have like just give the predicted value, I can pick the majority of the voting, and based on that I'll give my final output. It's like, let me just show you the basic example how exactly the random forest works, right? See, if we are using this random forest like for regression kind of problem, we need to use the like the average value, right? I think this one is the best one, like I can pick. Okay, so if we have instance represent the data set, right? So this random forest model uses the three different model. The first one is like decision tree one, The second model is like decision tree 2, and the third model is like decision tree 3. And we can use the multiple tree and represent multiple models, right? Suppose, ma'am, I just want, let me give you the very basic example, right? Suppose I just want to check the weather forecasting, and instead of using any tools and approach, we have like the number of participants right now, and based on that, I'll ask each and everyone, Vivekanand sir, what exactly your approach? आपको क्या लग रहा है कि आज like there might be chances आज like बारिश होगी या नहीं होगी? Just let me know. So you will give me one suggestion or you will give me one decision. I can ask the same question to like Dr. Pooja ma'am, right? She will give me the same like conclusion, and based on the overall conclusion, I will take the majority of the voting, and after calculating all the votings, I can say कि this the final votings are like this. So my final random forest giving me this output. So it is just nothing, just a collection of multiple trees model, right? I can just say. So let me create how to use this like random forest, and this random forest is a part of like ensemble technique. So you have to use the from sklearn, you will get the module which is like ensemble module, and inside ensemble module we have multiple techniques like the bagging techniques, the boosting techniques, and all these are like the very popular question when it comes to like machine learning implementation, right? The bagging and the boosting, right? Let me just show you. ज़्यादा नहीं, बस एक मिनट लगेगा, right? So the bagging techniques are like we have a like bags of multiple, like the parallelly we create a multiple bags of different algorithms, and it will try to pick a data, create their train their own individual model and predict the output. Again, second model gives the second output, third model gives the second output, and I'll combine the all output and give the final output answer, right? This technique is like the bagging technique. And inside the boosting technique, it is like I will create a first model, and if there are like chances of error or like I'm not getting up to that level of accuracy, I will again pick the same model and try to boost that model with the another model, right? So I can, so this is like my sequential steps. I can use the same model for boosting as well and different model as well, right? So bagging and boosting belongs to ensemble technique, and inside ensemble technique, either you can plan with the like the same model, you can create a bags of multiple same model, or you can start creating your sequential model with the multiple models. And the most popular boosting techniques are like XGBoost, gradient boosting, ADA boosting, right? Let me just show you list of popular boosting songs, nahi, boosting techniques in ML. And you will get like the ADA boosting, adaptive boosting, extreme gradient boosting, CAT boosting, like light GBM boosting. It's like light gradient boosting, right? Ensemble methods. You know that now all belongs to ensemble method. And what do you understand by ensemble method? Let me just go and Google. It is like the collection of multiple models, right? So ensemble technique. Okay. So there is a company, right? Ensemble technique. In machine learning you can use the same thing, in deep learning you can use the same thing, right? Because that belongs to same, right? So it's just a method, right, that strength and diversify, or it diverse like multiple use of models, right? So it is like we are aggregating two or more learners. The learners are like the multiple models, and we will create the sequence of weak learners, and then we will create the final learners, which is like the strong model. So ensemble technique, in just a short like word, it's just a collection of multiple models where we will start with the very weak learners or like with the weak models, and then finally we'll create a strong model or like a strong learners, and it is like the strong model, right? So inside this ensemble technique, if you just write XGBoost, you will get all this thing, right? The gradient boosting you will get, right? You can get the ADA boosting as well, right? But right now we want the random forest, so let me just call this random forest, right? Now the same steps, right? Model RF. Why we are using RF? Because we are creating a random forest model, right? Inside random forest, it will ask the number of trees that you want to create. I want to create 100 trees, and the second thing is that you have to give the model as well, right? You can change the model key. I don't want, see, the random forest by default uses the decision trees, right? It uses the decision tree. You will check the same in documentation. A random forest is a meta estimator that fits a number of decision trees, right? If you want to change the model, you can use like different types of algorithm in a random forest. So random forest is just nothing, a collection of multiple trees that you can say. So let me just call this model, and inside this model you have a model RF, and you just need to fit this model because we have already X train and Y train. The same, that just call the same data, right? X train and Y train. and we have trained our model as well, right? And this is the random forest. See, the thing is that all this belongs to hyperparameter, right? And if we want to change the hyperparameter, I can simply change the hyperparameter to 100 or 1000, what we want. So suppose I want to use like the 1200 decision trees, so I can simply use the 1200s, and this will try to create a 1200s of decision trees. Here we are just using a single one decision tree, but the problem with the decision tree model, it can be biased, right? So that's why there is a technique which is called the ensemble technique, and we can use the random forest classifier to particularly use the number of estimators with like we are using is a decision tree, right? Now the thing is that you have to call this variable model rf, and you know that you have fitted this module. Just simply try to predict the values, right? And inside this value you have to give the x test data, and you will get your y predicted value. Again we are getting the values 0 1 2 classes format, right? You know that now, because machine learning works on numerical data. Now what I'll do, I'll just simply create a ypred variable for like random forest. This time whatever the values that I am getting is just only for the random forest. So I'll create a variable like this ypred for rf, and let me print the complete ypred for rf, right? So we have completely checked the same thing, like the way we were like doing in the decision trees as well, the like the logistic regression, or we are doing the same thing with the random forest. But the control that we can do, we can give to the model is like we can design my or we can like select my number of trees, right? So instead of using one single decision tree, we are creating a forest, and forest is just a collection of trees. And I am saying let's just create a 1200 trees, and that 1200 trees is just nothing, a random forest classifier, right? Now just go and copy the same code what we have like achieved so far. Just copy the same code and paste it here. We have the models like the sepal length, sepal width, sepal petal length, and petal width. This time we don't want to use the model decision tree, we want to use the model random forest. Just simply predict the values, store that value inside answer, and just simply run this code, and you will get the values which is like the setosa. Now it's again very important to check your model, because we are doing the classification kind of stuff, so we cannot check the R2 score, MSE, MAE, and like the RMSE score, right? We need to work on the classification report or like the model.score, because we are using the random forest model. So just simply use this random forest model.score, and again give the same thing like x test and y predicted data, and it will give you the score or the accuracy. Let me just check the problem with this. Okay, so again the problem is like we have used the ypred, but we have given here as a ypred rf. So just use the same variable name, right? This is a very common mistake that in generally we do. Why we are getting the 100% accuracy? Because we know that if we are getting the 100% accuracy with the single decision tree, and we are using the multiple decision tree, of course we will get the 100% accuracy, right? So that's why we are getting 100% accuracy with the same random forest that we have created this algorithm or this model, right? Now what you have to do, because right now we have accomplished three different classification problem, like with the help of random forest, with the help of logistic regression, and with the help of decision trees as well. But we never understood what exactly the confusion metrics are and what to do with the classification report as well, right? So just call this classification report. What exactly this classification report is? This classification report is like it will try to classify, and it will try, see, we have three different species, right? It will try to predict ki whether we have classified each group individually in a proper way or not. So in this classification report, it will ask you two things. The first one is like y true value, and the second one is like y predicted value. We know that the y predicted values is here, we have stored the same y predicted value inside this variable, right? And the y true is just a y data, right? So simply give this y. The first one is like the y true, just simply pass this y, and the second one with y predicted rf. Once you run this, you will get your like y predicted data, and we cannot simply pass the y, because we need to use the y test value, right? And this is the classification report that we can give. मैम रस तो नहीं हो रहा है ना ज़्यादा? ऑल्दो मुझे पता है ये.
Ankit ji,
हाँ
I'm sorry
हाँ
to interrupt in between.
yeah.
Actually, I have to leave for a meeting. There is
Okay
a
ma'am.
meeting at 4
Okay.
o'clock. So perhaps that meeting would go for maybe 2 hours.
Okay.
So I'd like to thank you on behalf of the entire organizing committee and GBU.
Let me just
You
turn on
have
my camera,
been
right?
very
Yes, sir.
patiently and very, sincerely, you have provided the training to the participants. I think they would have learned a lot from you. You can continue your sessions on machine learning. I think it will take 1 hour more,
Yeah, yeah.
or
No, not more
is
than one
that
hour. I think, right? It would hardly take like close to 1 hour, right?
not more
Huh.
than 1 hour?
Not more than 1 hour, right?
Acha, acha, okay.
Hmm.
So thank you so much for on behalf of GBU for being part of this FDP and for providing training to the participants.
Okay.
So I take your leave and would request the participants to share their feedback with. Okay, we'll circulate a Google form on which you can share the feedback, and if we can have some more training programs of this kind in future, we'll definitely plan. Okay, thank you so much,
Definitely,
everyone,
ma'am.
for being
And
part of
yeah, thanks for your kind words, ma'am. And I'll try my best to give you right. And the thing is that
Grass Tech Education and
okay,
Services.
okay. So
So
it would
sorry
hardly.
to
Okay, no,
again.
no issue, ma'am. It would
I
hardly
have
take
to
like
leave
half an hour.
actually.
No
No,
issue, ma'am. You
it's
can take your time. You can like leave, and
no.
I'll just
Yeah,
continue
because meeting
with.
is going to start at 4, so
Okay, okay, got
there
it,
is
ma'am.
some
Got it.
lag in between, which is there in the communication.
Yeah, there might
Okay,
be
you
like.
can continue with your program.
Okay. There might be like internet issue from my side. Okay, no issue. I'll hardly
Ha
take half
ha.
an hour, right?
So,
And within just upcoming half an hour,
okay.
we'll try to just finalize and sum up all the algorithms that we have performed. And thank you so much, ma'am. Okay, from Aspheria, ma'am, right? So no issue. Let me just
Okay.
sum
Okay.
up this,
Yeah.
and then we
Thank
will
you. You can
finally
continue.
Thank you,
discuss the
ma'am.
overall outcomes, and then we can further plan for the next steps, right?
Okay.
Okay. Anything that you want to share, ma'am? Okay, got it. Just give me a second.
Yeah, okay, I think
ठीक है. Okay, so let me continue with the same thing, right? So this is the final thing, right? So we have to like identify and check the classification report as well. The classification report is nothing very easy, right? And just let me share what exactly this is. It is like कि मेरा model precise कितना है, the FN score and the overall data point that it took, right? So I know that I have only three classes, 0, 1 and 2. So 0 mein it's like my overall accuracy is close to 100%. For one classes it's close to 100%, and for second it's like closely to 90%. So I can say that कि comparatively to my precision or like my accuracy, the model only gives 100% accuracy to like 0 and 1 class. And when it comes to like second class, it is like hardly take like 10% losses, you can say. So it giving you the 90% of overall accuracy, right? So I can just say that ki being an ML engineer, you just need to create the multiple models, right? The models could be related to linear regression model, the classification model as well, right? So here we have performed three different models. And if you just really want, we can perform multiple models as well, like the support vector classifier we have. We can use the knife based algorithm as well. And it hardly take like 20 minutes. And let me just give you, see, you have to like use the same thing, right? Just simply go to this from sklearn, and inside this sklearn you just need to call the knife based algorithm, right? And inside knife base you can again repeat the same step again and again. So from sklearn, just call this svm, which is like your support vector machine, and I want to call the support vector classifier. Now what exactly the support vector classifier says, the support vector classifier is again a machine learning algorithm. Okay, let me write this as ml algorithm. It will try to create a boundaries, right? It will try to create a decision boundaries, and that decision boundaries is created by the help of nearest support vector. Suppose I have the class 1, right, and I have another classes 2. So what I want to check the support vectors key what exactly the nearest data points from all these supports. क्लास ए से मेरा नियरेस्ट डेटा पॉइंट्स कौन सा है, क्लास बी से मेरा नियरेस्ट डेटा पॉइंट कौन सा है, राइट, एंड दैट कैन बी रिप्रेजेंटेड एज अ सपोर्ट वेक्टर. If I got all the support vector, I will try to divide this margin boundary and I will create a boundary decision, and based on this boundary decision I will categorize my data and I will classify my data, and that's where you can use the support vector classifier, right? Again, it's very easy, right? Let me write it very fast. You have to create a model. The model is like support vector classifier, okay, and you just need to use svc. Inside this svc, just simply call this, see, very basic steps, right? Simply use this fit method. Fit method के बाद just simply call the x training data and simply give the y training data, right? Just run this. You have created your svc model. Now what exactly the next step, you will try to create the predicted value for what svc. So I will say कि भाई जो मैंने मॉडल बनाया मैम, right, from like the model svc that we have created, I will use the predict method, and inside this predict method I will pass the x test data. This x test data give you the y predicted value, and we know that we need to check the model score. So let me just call this model svc and call the score method, and inside this score method you just need to give x test, and the second thing is y pred, and y pred we have to give is like the y pred svc because हमने ये अलग से y pred किया, right? And if you just run, let me just correct this, you are again getting the accuracy of 1 represent means 100% accuracy. And now you can run like the classification report for this as well. And classification report we are running for not for random forest, we are running a classification report for support vector classifier. And you can just simply check कि देखिए they hardly भी like ज़्यादा difference नहीं होगा, okay? It is close to like 192 and 95, 192 95, because the model looks same, right? So it's like support vector classifier, like the random forest, or like the decision trees, or like the logistic regression, or like the linear regression, the lasso regression, or the ridge regression. We just need to perform all the algorithms so that we can get some ideas कि ये काम कैसे करता है, right? And based on that then I can take my decision कि which algorithm should I use for my like final like model हमें save करना है and final उस पर हमें work करना है, right? This is the main purpose, yes or no? So I can use like the support vector classifier as well. We have performed like the digit classification as well. Now the final algorithm that I'll pick is a naive based algorithm, right? Now suppose if you don't know how to like particularly, I know that कि ये काफ़ी rush हो गया, right? काफ़ी जल्दबाजी हो गया. But see, the thing was that कि I am told that I just need to give the overview, right? But the thing is that I have decided, let me turn on my camera, I have decided to give the in-depth intuition, right? If I just simply let you know ki we have started with the like basic ml implementation with like the linear regression, that could be enough. I can just simply say कि okay, this is the ML model and ये सारे हमारे और different ML models होते हैं और ये हम आगे सीखेंगे. I can also say the same thing, right? But I really want कि I know that कि काफ़ी fast था, but the thing is that you should know कि if you focus on Python gives you the edge to work on different set of context. You can like create your own models as well. If you have like very good knowledge related to web development, so you can deploy your model as well. And this is the industrial requirement. I am not presenting you anything that is like obsolete in the like in the market, that has been already used by the like different types of whatever the market may be working, right? But this is just again the fundamental blocks. You cannot say कि after using all this ML concept you are like an ML engineer. You need to work on different techniques. You have to understand the deep learning concept. Deep learning is like the further extension of machine learning, where we need to create a deep learning model from basic neural network. And if you really want a like in-depth class for this, I would really suggest कि just need to work on this as well, right? If you don't want, just work on yourself, because it would definitely helps you a lot कि model creation कैसे काम होता है. And once you learn all this thing, then you can easily know okay, all these are concept related to whatever like chat gpts, open ai market, llms, large language model, gen ai, gemini, we can use anything, right? And these are the popular tools in the market that we can use, right? So all this machine learning are like basic statistical implementation or like basic mathematical implementation. Perfect. Now I want to implement a naive Bayes algorithm. Okay, so this Bayes algorithm is very good and popular one. So what I'll do, sklearn, let me just show you naive Bayes. Naive means bhola bhala, and Bayes is like it completely based upon the Bayes theorem. Okay, and what exactly the Bayes theorem is? It like the event of likelihood. It is again like the concept related to probability. Suppose like I have two different kinds of probability. The probability is like I want to check कि इंडिया एंड ऑस्ट्रेलिया का मैच हो रहा है, ठीक है. बेस्ड ऑन इंडिया एंड ऑस्ट्रेलिया मैच आई जस्ट वांट टू चेक कि विराट कोहली कितना रन मारेगा, कितना रन बनाएगा बेस्ड ऑन इंडिया एंड ऑस्ट्रेलिया मैच, राइट. दिस इज द रिक्वायरमेंट. सो बिफोर दे विल स्टार्ट मैच, यू नो दैट ना कि पिच चेक करना, टॉस चेक करना. सो सपोज मैंने टॉस किया एंड इंडिया इज लाइक उसने टॉस जीत लिया. सो इंडिया के टॉस जीतने की प्रोबेबिलिटी इज अ 50%. एंड आफ्टर दिस 50%, what is the probability of scoring 100%, like आपका 100 plus score or like a century. So I can say that my one probability is completely depends upon the another probability. So I can just say this is the use of a like Bayes theorem, where it says that the probability of already dependent one with the dependent one, कि एक probability दूसरे पर कैसे dependent है अगर वो event already हो चुका है. Suppose we have a three different balls and मैंने तीनों जो है वो एक ड्रॉर में रखे हुए हैं. वी नो दैट वी हैव थ्री डिफरेंट कलर्स ऑफ बॉल्स, राइट. इफ आई एम पिकिंग अप एनी सिंगल बॉल एंड बेस्ड ऑन दैट बॉल्स आई जस्ट वॉन्ट टू चेक कि कौन सा मेरा लाइक स्पॉन्ज का बॉल है एंड कौन सा मेरा मेटल का बॉल है एंड वो किस कलर के होने के चांसेस है. राइट नाउ द प्रोबेबिलिटी आर लाइक डिपेंडेड ऑन टू इवेंट. So I can just say that can be part of like my Bayes theorem. So the completely naive Bayes theorem is completely based upon the like probability of likelihood. So we generally divide all these concept into multiple like multiple hypothesis kind of. And if you are already aware with this thing, then it's very good to go. Right now let me just show you how to like code for this if you are using the naive Bayes theorem, right. Just simply call this from sklearn. Why my types are not working? Okay, now just simply hit the naive Bayes, and inside the naive Bayes you can call this module, right. You can call like the naive Bayes. Okay, from sklearn.naive Bayes you are importing the naive Bayes. Oh, this should be like the class, right. Let me call this. Okay, this is a file, it should be in class. Okay, so we have three different types of Bayes. I can use the Gaussian Bayes, right. So you need to call this. If you just run tab, you will get the multiple Bayes. See, we have a Gaussian Bayes. Let me just show you list of like आपका list of what the naive Bayes models, right. So the Gaussian naive Bayes are there, like the multinomial naive Bayes. Right now we can use the multinomial as well, because see, but the thing is that it should be like related to multinomial or like the regression kind of problem. If the problem is related to binary one, so I can use the Bernoulli naive Bayes, right. So it completely based upon the different types of situations, right. So let me pick the Gaussian naive Bayes. Right now what I'll do, I'll create again a model. Let me call this as NB means naive Bayes, and I will use the Gaussian knife Bayes. And you know that why my types is not working. Let me copy this. Okay, now just simply write done, so that it should give कि आपका ये code चल रहा है. I think there might be some issues related to this code, otherwise ये ऐसा issue नहीं आना चाहिए था. Yeah, now it's working. Now what you have to do, just simply call this model naive Bayes and just try to fit the data. And you know that all these steps are very fixed, right. Just call your xtrain data and you have to give your ytrain data, right, and then simply run this, right. So we have created this naive Bayes model with the help of xtrain and ytrain. There might be some issues related to my Jupyter notebook, otherwise इतना ये time नहीं लगना चाहिए था. right? If I'll create this knife based model, then I just need to predict the values on that, right? And after predicting the value, I need to check the score, and finally the classification report, and then the confusion matrix, right? So the model has already been trained. Now what you have to do, just simply call this knife base. See, there is some problem related to my Jupyter notebook, right? Let me just copy this. इतना टाइम नहीं लगता, टैब बटन पे काम कर जाता है. Just predict this value and give the x test data, right? And you know that this will give you the y predicted value, and y predicted value is like हम ये nb के लिए बना रहे हैं, so it's like knife base, okay? And it is like y predict, PRIDICT, right? Now what you want to check the score, okay? So model knife base dot what, I want to check the score based on what, x test and y predicted of what, the knife base, right? And b, this should give the score, and again you are getting the score of 100%, right? Now you can print the classification report as well. Call the classification report, okay? See, there is some problem related to my code, right? मैं अभी कॉपी पेस्ट कर देता हूँ. नाउ आई डोंट वांट टू यूज द वाई पीरियड ऑफ एसवीसी. मैं एसवीसी सपोर्ट वेक्टर क्लासीफायर नहीं यूज करना चाह रहा. आई वांट टू यूज द क्लासिफिकेशन रिपोर्ट फॉर नाइफ बेस, राइट? एंड यू कैन जस्ट चेक, ओके, कि देखिए डिफरेंसेस हैं, ऐसा नहीं है कि वहाँ पर डिफरेंसेस नहीं है, राइट? द 92 and 95, right? All these are like your F1 score and the recall score, right? So precision, recall, F1 score and support all shows you like the matrices for your classification model, right? It is or like the crucial matrices, you can just simply say, okay? So precision, F1, recall is like the sensitivity. There is a dedicated formula for this, right? And if I just proceed with this dedicated formula, first of all we need to understand the confusion matrix. So let me just show you what exactly the confusion matrix is, right? So just call this confusion matrix, and inside this confusion matrix you just need to give the same data y true and y pred, and let me create a confusion matrix, and let me use the C bond to show this, right? So what I'll do, I'll say SNS dot heat map. Heat map is like my module that can shows this confusion matrix in like heat map format, and I'll say a note is equals to true. That should give me the value as well, and let me show this with the help of plt.show, and it says SNS is not defined. There might be problem related to that C1 module is not available, so I'll say ki import cborn as SNS, and then I'll run this code. So SNS.heatmap, the confusion matrix that I have created, and it should give me the values, right? What exactly the confusion matrix is. So let me just first turn off my camera, right? Because systems are hanging, right? थोड़ा सा इशू आ रहा है मेरे सिस्टम के बेसिस पे. Let me just turn it off, and मैं एक्स्ट्रा टैब्स भी यहाँ पर कट कर देता हूँ. दिस इज द लास्ट टॉपिक, राइट? डोंट जस्ट लाइक, अभी ज़्यादा हमारा रश नहीं होगा, ओके? एंड लेट मी नो एनी क्वेश्चन इफ यू हैव, राइट? Okay, so let me first open the confusion matrix, right? The confusion matrix is, see, we have a like 4 possible conditions, right? And why the name is like confusion matrix? Because it is like ये confuse करता है, ठीक है? Whenever I am creating any model, right, the chances could be like this. इसी के basis पर ही हो सकता है, ठीक है? कि predict, this one is like your predicted values and this one is like your actual values. So let me give you the very basic example, right? Let me pick the meme for this, if there is any meme available, like this one, right? Uh, okay, yeah, this one is good. Why I am picking a meme for this? Because meme से ज़्यादा clear होगा, okay? So we have the actual data and we have the predicted data, okay? The predicted data is what? Predicted means मेरे मॉडल ने बताया, और actually means वो actual में पहले से था, ठीक है? Suppose this is a dog, right? एंड मॉडल ने भी क्या बोला? पॉजिटिव. पॉजिटिव मीन्स डॉग प्रिडिक्ट किया, एंड एक्चुअली में भी ये क्या था? डॉग था. सो इट सेज ट्रू पॉजिटिव. ट्रू पॉजिटिव मीन्स कि मॉडल ने भी ट्रू प्रिडिक्ट किया और एक्चुअली वो ट्रू था, तो ये मेरा ट्रू पॉजिटिव होगा. वाई दिस वन इज लाइक ट्रू नेगेटिव? बिकॉज मेरे फॉल्स नेगेटिव, वी रिफर दिस एज ट्रू नेगेटिव, बिकॉज मेरे मॉडल ने तो यहाँ पर क्या बोल दिया, इट्स लाइक यू आर अ कैट, बट एक्चुअली इट्स अ नेगेटिव डेटा. ये मेरा डॉग है, बट मेरा मॉडल यहाँ पर क्या कह रहा है, इट्स अ कैट. एंड दिस इज द इशू विथ माई मॉडल. सो आई कैन से कि प्रिडिक्शन इसने गलत किया, सो इट्स लाइक अ ट्रू नेगेटिव. तो ये मेरा सॉरी फॉल्स नेगेटिव, इट्स लाइक इसने फॉल्स प्रिडिक्ट किया एंड नेगेटिव प्रिडिक्ट किया, सो ये मेरा फॉल्स नेगेटिव हो जाएगा. एंड दिस वन इज लाइक ये मेरा प्रिडिक्टेड डेटा है, प्रिडिक्ट इसने किया यू आर अ डॉग एंड द एक्चुअली इट वाज लाइक ये गलत प्रिडिक्शन था. सो इट वॉज लाइक ये मेरा कैट था बट मेरे मॉडल ने डॉग प्रिडिक्ट किया. सो आई कैन से कि मेरे मॉडल से मिस्टेक हो गया, मॉडल ने पॉजिटिव प्रिडिक्ट किया यानी डॉग प्रिडिक्ट किया, बट ये एक्चुअली में कैट था. सो इट्स लाइक अ फॉल्स पॉजिटिव प्रिडिक्शन. पॉजिटिवली मतलब डॉग प्रिडिक्ट करना था, बट इसने सी पॉजिटिव मतलब यहाँ पर हमें सब में डॉग प्रिडिक्ट करना है. सो यहाँ पर इसने इस कैट को भी डॉग प्रिडिक्ट कर दिया एंड अगेन ये मेरा फॉल्स पॉजिटिव प्रिडिक्ट किया, ये मेरा नेगेटिव एरर हो गया, राइट. एंड यू आर नॉट अ डॉग, इट्स लाइक ये मेरा ट्रू नेगेटिव हो गया. सो in this way we can say कि we have a four types of like the actual versus prediction, and it represent my confusion matrix, and it is like true positive, false negative and true negative. and यही confusion matrix बन के मेरा finally बनता है like all this classification report like this. ये जितना भी मेरा classification report है ना, ये just इन्हीं पे calculate होता है. and let me just show you, I think इसके लिए this image could be the better one, not this one. Let me pick ये वाला इमेज नहीं, confusion matrix with classification report, right? Confusion matrix classification report, right? So yeah, this one is good, right? So you can just say कि ये जितना भी मेरा प्रिसीजन और रिकॉल ये सब कैलकुलेट हो रहा है, द सेंसिटिविटी, द स्पेसिफिटी, राइट, द स्पेसिफिसिटी, एक्यूरेसी, नेगेटिव प्रिडिक्शन एंड द प्रिसीजन, ये सब मेरा इस ट्रू पॉजिटिव एंड फॉल्स पॉजिटिव के बेसिस पर कैलकुलेट हो रहा है, राइट. एंड the false positive and the false negative are like my type 1 and type 2 error, and being a MN engineer we should avoid all these errors, right. So जब आप इस पे further in depth में काम करेंगे, you will use all these concept. and diagonally means you are getting the perfect value. वाई वी आर गेटिंग लाइक वन हेयर, इट मीन्स कि हमारे मॉडल से मिस्टेक हो गया है, हमारे मॉडल से मिस्टेक हो गया, तभी तो हेयर यू कैन चेक ना कि ये देखिए गलत प्रिडिक्शन है. एंड दैट्स वाई द एक्यूरेसी इज 90%, कि वो टू को ढंग से प्रिडिक्ट नहीं कर पाया, राइट. इट्स लाइक वो जो सेकेंड स्पीसीज था उसमें कन्फ्यूजन हो गया उससे, एंड उसने उसे वन प्रिडिक्ट कर लिया, वो एक्चुअली में टू था बट उसने उसे वन प्रिडिक्ट कर लिया, राइट. सो दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम, एंड दैट्स वाई वी जनरली क्रिएट दिस अ confusion matrix. So we can create a confusion matrix for multiple models, right. So now let me just summarize this. हमने नाइफ बेस एल्गोरिदम को रन किया, वी हैव क्रिएट, सी दिस वन इज द प्रोजेक्ट, राइट. एंड आई कैन लाइक पर्टिकुलरली फाइनलाइज माई मॉडल, एंड आई कैन जस्ट से कि जो मॉडल मुझे सही लगा, सपोज दिस मॉडल एल आर इज गुड, राइट. सो आई कैन सेव दिस मॉडल, राइट. आई कैन जस्ट सिंपली से कि भाई डू वन थिंग, सेव दिस मॉडल, एंड सेव करने के लिए आई विल यूज द module which is like the like there is a concept which is called pickle concept. So ये थोड़ा सा एडवांस टॉपिक हो जाएगा, let me just skip this. It is like we have to save the model, and once we save the model, सेव करने के बाद वी जस्ट क्रिएट अ वेबसाइट, राइट. एंड वेबसाइट में उस मॉडल को बैकएंड में कॉल कर देते हैं, दैट्स व्हाई देयर इज अ रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ अ बैकएंड डेवलपर, राइट. दैट बैकएंड डेवलपर विल ट्राई टू इंटीग्रेट द सेम मॉडल टू द बैकएंड, एंड वेबसाइट पे बंदा जाएगा फ्रंट एंड पे, एंड फ्रंट एंड पे इट विल गिव सम वैल्यूज रिलेटेड टू दिस, ये ऐसे वैल्यूज वहाँ पर एंटर करेगा, एंड बैकएंड से वो डेटा कैलकुलेट होकर के यहाँ पर प्रिडिक्ट होकर के मुझे आ जाएगा. इट्स लाइक अ वर्जीनिका. सो दिस इज द एक्चुअल इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ अ कंप्लीट मशीन लर्निंग, एंड आई थिंक आपको ऑलमोस्ट सारी चीज़ें क्लियर हुई होंगी. यहाँ पर भी सपोर्ट वेक्टर भी क्लियर हुआ होगा, एंड आई हैव गिवन यू जितना रिक्वायर्ड था उससे ज़्यादा मैंने आपको मॉडल्स बताया, बट इतना रिक्वायर्ड एक्चुअली था नहीं, राइट. द प्रैक्टिकल एस्पेक्ट, द ML इम्प्लीमेंटेशन एंड ऑल, राइट. कोडिंग का इतना ज़्यादा रिक्वायर्ड नहीं था, बट बीइंग अ बिजनेस एनालिस्ट आपको पता होना चाहिए कि ये सारी चीज़ें वी कैन डू, राइट. सो इफ आई जस्ट समराइज this is like and from my side. In case of any doubt or any question, you can just easily ask me, right? And let me just show you the final presentation. So this is like the ML algorithm with different use cases, right? So let me just click on this. We know that the p value, the r2 score, or and all like matrices and all, right? We can work on this. Different ML algorithms है हमारे पास, like the reinforce. See, the further extension of a ML algorithm is like the deep learning हमने पहले भी देखा है. It's like the neural network. You have to use the neural network concept for this, right? So linear regression में we can predict the house price, like the spam classification, loan approval, whether it is like loan approved or not, right? Knife base में I can use the sentiment analysis. Support vector में I can use the digit data set, and we have used the same as well, right? So if I just summarize the complete module, this is like the complete FDP. From day one, we have started with like the overall data types that we have in the statistics, the different types of like the analysis that we have to do, like the prescriptive analysis, descriptive analysis, and overall analysis, right? So all these like the topic that we have completed so far with the practical implementation of Tableau, Power BI, Python. We also perform the EDA concept related to Zomato exploratory data analysis. System काफ़ी हैंग हो चुका है मेरा, right? Just give me a second, right? Let me just क्रॉस ये जितने भी एक्स्ट्रा टैब हैं मैं इनको ऑफ कर लेता हूँ बिकॉज सिस्टम काफ़ी हैंग हो चुका है, राइट? लेट मी जस्ट क्लोज दिस ऑल्सो. Okay, now this one. Okay, now this is the final that we have completed multiple things, right? Now anyone wants to summarize whatever that we have accomplished so far? बताइए, किसी को कुछ बताना है, पूछना है? Dr. Vivekanand sir, Dr. Shobha ma'am, Dr. Varsha ma'am, are you there? Hello, Dr. Aishwarya ma'am, Dr. Sunil sir, Dr. Shobha ma'am, Varsha ma'am, are you there? Dr. Vivekanand sir, बताइए, आवाज़ आ रही है आप लोग को मेरी? हेलो, मीनाक्षी मैम, am I audible? Let me just like मैं वीडियो ऑफ कर लेता हूँ बिकॉज द थिंग इज दैट सिस्टम काफ़ी हैंग हो रहा है. ओके, सो आर यू देयर? ओके, नो क्वेश्चन. Ma'am, if it is possible, like I'm just closing this session, so you can turn on your mic, and anyone like they want to share something or like any question or any doubt related to this. Anyone? Vivekanand sir, Shobha ma'am, Varsha ma'am, and let me just share the final the topic since last like the 5 day we have almost devoted like the 6 day from like day one. Different roles of business analytics, बहुत सारी चीज़ें आप भूल भी गए होंगे, right? Different types of intelligence, the use of data science and analytics, different types of data. Like we started with the basic Excel implementation. Day two we focus on like the BRDs and FRDs development. Then we learn then we like learn the concept of like what exactly the data storytellings are, KPIs are. Power BI पे we have created a dashboard with the DEX function. Dynamically we connected the Power BI with the SQL server as well. Then Power BI को हमने MySQL से भी connect किया. We got the data from live website as well. Wikipedia, you know that ना? We have analyzed, we have created a dashboard for like Elon Musk का data हमने Wikipedia से call किया था, right? Then we took a complete day for like day 3 for basic Python pandas implementation, matplotlib. Like then we studied agile and waterfall methodologies, different types and different stories and steps involved in BRDs and FRDs creation. Then we took a data from like the Kaggle, and the data set was related to Zomato, and the business case studies was they just want to explore the data, they just want to explore the data analysis, right? So we have used the exploratory data analysis using the pandas. And it's not just the basic like simple forecasting model. We know that how to like create a complete machine learning implementation so that we can predict the future value as well. Then we took advantage of using the Google Looker Studio, different BI tools available in the market, different case studies, right, related to Power BI and the Tableau as well. Then there was a complete full day like dedicated class for the Tableau. We again created the dashboard related to HR analytics. And like the final day was completely dedicated to the machine learning model and implementation, where we have studied multiple things like the reinforcement, like semi supervised machine learning, decision trees, random forest, logistic regression, and all, right? And we also know that like deep learning is just nothing the further extension of the machine learning, where we need to like again create the neural network, right? And the further neural network are divided into three parts. The ANN part is like artificial neural network, right? And the CNN part is like the convolutional neural network, and the RNN part is like the recurrent neural network, right? So we can only achieve this like if we want to predict the stock price, we need to work on this new RNN, like recurrent neural network. If we want to create like the image processing kind of software, or like a website that can simply pick any image data and can transform into like whatever the requirement that we want, right? So it is, there is a like complex requirement of a CNN deep learning, right? And ANN is like just an artificial neural network, right? So it's just a further extension of a machine learning, I can say, right? Because in generally machine learning we have a structured form of data, but what about like unstructured formats? Suppose I am like speaking something, and I want a model that should predict the next word that I can speak, right? So for that, I need a deep learning model rather than the machine learning model, right? So all these concepts were related to the business analyst so that it can equip you with like the sorted demanded tools from the industries and the requirement, and you can take decision based on that. And when you starting your career as a business analyst, you can take decision based on that, so that the company can also particularly turn their loss making company into a profitable one, right? So before I just finally wrap up the overall FDP program, I thought and I think that definitely it helps you a lot, and आप लोगों ने बहुत कुछ सीखा भी होगा. And anyone wants to share something like the curriculum that we have completed so far, the modules and the topics overall, right? From the like business analyst point of view, data analyst का, see बहुत सारी चीजें थी, right? But the second thing is that कि I would definitely suggest you take your some time and try to deep dive further into what exactly the different roles and responsibilities of a BI analyst, and like the business analyst, or like the data scientists, data engineers, data analysts, so that you can get more ideas how to particularly work on all these things, right? So well, you are already aware of all these things. I know that you are very like you're working as a faculties and very senior and respected faculty. So before I just wrap up this session, Dr. Varsha ma'am, Dr. Ashwarya ma'am, or whatever the senior faculty is right now here, want to share something, and or should I just close this session and I'll roll out the feedback form, and whatever the discussion or the reviews that you want to give, if you genuinely feel this as a good as much as possible, then you can give the final feedback as well. So would you like anyone, would you like to share something? बताइए. Hello, Dr. Varsha ma'am, are you there? Let me just turn off my camera, right? There might be some internet issue from my end. थोड़ा सा hang कर रहा है.
Yes, Ankitji, it was a great session. We became familiar with lot many things which are used in analytics,
Right.
and we have the curiosity to deep dive into the subject, as
Definitely.
we already have that research background. So only the thing is we need to learn how to integrate it with the new languages coming up.
Right. Very good.
And I must thank you for being a patient trainer for us.
Okay.
And you have really worked hard and modified the things as per our requirements. It
Okay.
was a great time. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am. So, thanks for very like such kind and wonderful words. And Dr. Vivekanand sir, would you like to like share something, or shall I just close this? Right. I think it's already like we have spent almost like more than 25 or like 30 hours of training, right? Hardcore training, and we eventually not even wasted a single minute, right? If you just check ki daily ka, it's close to like more than two point like 2 hours of 30 minutes of training for like session 1 and session 2 as well, right? So each and every single word was related to like the training kind of aspect. So the examples were taken, were whatever anything, right? So this is from my side, and because I am working as a business analyst, so this is the thing that I can only guide and assist you, right? If you would like to connect for the further same, like over the grass tech or over the LinkedIn, or you can connect us on like the grass, like on LinkedIn and Instagram as well, like with the name, and like with the name as Grasstech, and my name is, you know, that Ankit Misra. So if you just really want to do some research, I am like eagerly deep dive into like your research as well, right? Because I know that बहुत सारे फैकल्टीज ने कोऑर्डिनेट किया था, दे वर वर्किंग ऑन लाइक द CNN पार्ट, ML में प्रॉब्लम आता था, डीप लर्निंग में आता था, एंड लॉट्स ऑफ दे लाइक देम आर ऑलरेडी डूइंग देयर PhDs एंड स्कॉलर्स. सो कहीं ना कहीं वहाँ पर भी वो इशू आता है लाइक फॉर प्रोजेक्ट्स एंड ऑल, राइट? So all this was like related to some sort of development aspect, and I hope कि कुछ कुछ तो सीखने को मिला होगा, right? 10 to 20%. Eventually I have given my like more than 100% as much as possible, but कुछ तो at least आप लोग को like आया होगा समझ में. And in case of any help, like you can simply connect me, right? You can let me know. I can definitely help you, right? And I have already one task related to one of the faculties, so उनका भी मुझे देखना है like the projects were. And if you think, if you want to like reorganize this kind of session in future again, so that we can further deep dive into like the deep concept of like the Python or like the ML. And I would really suggest ki ML se bhi like there is a deep learning, then the generative AI. And right now we are more focusing on like the agentic AI. We have a generated adversarial network, the RAG concepts are there, so that I can simply pick my like PDF and I can drop it into my website, and I can ask any question. See the thing, you can say that na sir, we can do the also thing using the chat GPT, but we are exposing our data to chat GPT. But suppose if we want to create our own integrated model for like our own university, so that you can simply like drop the PDFs and you can summarize your all data without using like exposing your data to any open AI market. So you just need to like learn all these things, and this is the market requirement, right? Whatever the code that we have used, like the PPTs, I can simply like create lots of PPTs and codes with the help of any open AI tool or like the GPT. But the thing is that we need to understand the fundamental concept behind this, so that I can build my foundation based on that, and I can take decision based on that also, right? So this is the final word from my side. And well, I am not allowed to say this, but wish you all the best, right? And I wish the same, that you will give me the same wishes, right, from back. And let me just close this session. So bye bye, let's meet again. Okay sir and ma'am, very good evening. Any final word, or okay, so let me just stop the